What's happening, guys? We've got scan coming at you for May the 3rd. We'll find out real soon if we should be selling in May and going away. But I think that a lot of people think that the market is slow right now, and it's truly not. I mean, we're still pushing highs, we're still going crazy, and there's still countless opportunities every single day. But I've seen a lot of tweets suggesting that it's not the case, that it's actually slow. And I think most people just sort of judge the market based on how many 50 or 100 or 200% gainers we have, because that became the norm. But when you've got stocks like OCGN and CLOV and BTX all last week, I mean, there's no shortage of trades. It's just whether or not, one, you're prepared for them, or two, it kind of fits into your trading belt, your trading arsenal, whatever you want to call it. Whether or not you have a particular trade that you're comfortable with in your playbook to be able to take advantage of setups like that. And for me, Clove was a perfect ABCD setup. We talk about on Scan a lot, where we have that big move, that big volume day, consolidates, and then you've got those wicks on the daily chart. Perfect ABCD setup this week, and I busted out, had a nice breakout, as well as the backside, the unwind. And so I think that we're going to continue to have those types of trades, and I think that Clove, CLOV will continue to offer potential pullback. You guys can look at XL, you guys can look at RMO to kind of get a feel for what that might look like. But then we also have OCGN. I feel like everybody's been waiting for that pullback. Everybody thinks it should be, probably way lower than it is. And I think that, there's particular catalysts that people are excited about, that there's no reason to sell. And I think it's just really a case of everybody was short, and, it's not happening on their timetable. And so they were holding and holding and holding, and they're slowly getting squeezed out. Huge opportunity on Friday on OCGN on the short side. Not trying to nail the trade for the big picture, unwind, full day, let it work kind of thing, but taking advantage of the opportunity that was there, the setup, the failed follow through setup, the basketball analogy that we talk about on Tandem Trader and textbook trading. Perfect trade there. It's set up just like VXRT, as well as many others last week. So really nice opportunities there. The other thing was BTX this week. Now, BTX, as you guys know, I was long on that one. We talked about it last Sunday video scan. I had added and added and added to my winner. Not crazy size, but I had added and got up to a 12 average. So I made that to about $36 per share. 35 to 36 was my exits. And, like I said, the big upticks come after, I exit. And of course it hit, 70s plus after hours on Friday. But, that's just too much. I'm not betting on black swans, right? If you're going to be betting on black swans, overall, you're going to lose probably 90% of the time, right? Because maybe more, because black swans are black swans for a reason. They rarely happen. So if you're continually betting on this being the next black swan, you're going to lose more often than win. And, that might be fun for some, but, you're going to end up upset more than not. So one of the things that I noticed about myself in the past is after we have one of those huge black swan events, I end up overholding, and I end up losing a lot more on trades after that black swan event, because I'm thinking that they're all going to be that next black swan event. So, for me, I want to be super aware of that, especially if things start to calm down a little bit this week on, momentum trades like that. So we're competing with some wind today, so hopefully it's not too bad and the shake's not too bad, but we'll see what happens. But either way, if you are focused in on BTX a lot and you are, trying to figure out what way it's going to go, you'll probably realize that you have your blinders on. You'll probably realize that it's an attention seeker, and when you review your day, you're going to see all those 3-4 other names that you were prepared for, and you're going to realize that was the easy money. Meanwhile, you in your mind, in your head, you really wanted to trade BTX, but was it really the edge? And so for me, there becomes a point where the risk becomes greater than the reward. And I don't care if it goes 40, 50, 60, 70. It is what it is. I got the meat of the move. Well, at the time. But at this point, it starts to get a little bit more risky, and it's an Amex stock, and sometimes those ones halt randomly. I don't think so in this case, just because they've done the filings, they've had a PR. It's not some type of random 200% mover. So we'll see what happens with it. But either way, yeah, I probably will trade it tomorrow. But am I excited about it? No, because it's not something that I'm going to sink my teeth into. Because if you do sink your teeth into it and you're wrong, good luck. So somebody had asked me recently too, and I just talked about the sell in May, go away, right? That's the Wall Street kind of saying. But what are my plans coming into the summer? We're heading in. It's coming fast, and it's very similar to what I said a couple scans ago. And I was talking about my friend who had a little bit of a setback, but I told him to kind of think out to June 15th. June 14th is what I used because it was my birthday. But I told him think out and start to check the boxes. And before you know it, you're going to be back as well as beyond by that date. And I think that that's going to be and continue to be my goal, is just to stay focused, stay firing on all cylinders, try to keep the headaches to a minimum. Because you just, it's just not worth always pressing, because at some point that pressing is going to catch up, and you're going to realize that, hey, you know what, maybe you shouldn't press all the time. Sometimes better trades are being a little bit more patient, no trades, things like that, and yeah, you end up in the same spot. If you're always pushing and pushing, eventually it will catch up. So even this week, VXRT, I needed to be extremely aware of it, because that was a trade that I was very confident in sizing into. And if I was sizing in size, the trades were great. But if I was wrong, I need to be wrong, because that can get bad real quick. And you saw that on Friday. I think a lot of people got smoked into the after hours. It went up to over 12. And that's a perfect example of people saying, you know what, let me just see what it does. And then it's like, maybe it was just a squeeze into the close. So I'll just hold some, maybe I can cover it after hours. Nope, another dollar up, after hours. So that's another good example of not letting your Friday ruin your Monday, or your Monday ruin your Tuesday, or whatever the case may be. And the point there is that just because you made a mistake today, move on. Move on. Mistakes happen, but don't carry it into another day, because is it going to be worse that next day? Is it going to throw you off? Is it going to throw you off from trading well the next day? Probably. So just be done with that day and then move on and start fresh is typically what I always do. This week for winners. By the way, you guys killed it last week. Great commentary, great key takeaways, great everything. So I appreciate you guys doing that. As you know, always just leave a key takeaway with the timestamp. If you leave a key takeaway with the timestamp of whatever your aha moment was, that helps us and it helps others. Other people are going to go and click it and rewatch it. And a lot of people watch things multiple times because they miss things the second time, the third time, the fourth time. And so, by you doing that, you're actually helping out a lot of other traders. So truly, I do appreciate that. And as you guys know, in return, I always send out, t-shirts, free IU at times, scans, Icon meals, Momo Traders books, you name it. So this week, we're going to do a month of scans. That's scans with a Z, and that's what I use for mainly OTC trading, as well as some high day and low day lists with filters built in. They've got a lot of other opportunity or technology that I don't even use. But maybe at some point I'll find the time to explore it more. But I just use it for a particular portion of my scanning, which as you guys see every single day that are members, it's always there, it's always up there, and that's where I'm pulling information from. So a Vesta, you won that scans for a month, and then Charles Nakio, you've got the t-shirt for this week. And what Charles wrote was, realizing that I'm starting to have trade plans that match your plans for the upcoming week is super encouraging. So that's exactly what my goal is with these scans. I'm not looking for people to be like, okay, Nate said this, so I'm doing that. That's not what this is about at all. This is about kind of sharing how I come up with my trade plans, and hopefully it helps you kind of develop your own and understand what is a good trade and what isn't, and where you could potentially benefit from. So anyway, we'll get right into the questions for this week. And then the scan portion is relatively short because, like I said, it's really about coming prepared in the market. And, the recent trades for me is just, what's got news and what's happening pre-market. But the confidence comes from staying familiar. So you see me go through a lot of charts. You see me staying familiar with a lot of charts. But, I don't have anything for tomorrow that is like, all right, this is it. This is 100%. But understanding and seeing where charts are, where names are within their move is crucial. So I think that's a big part. And then one other note that I'll get into is, the swing trades we talked about. And I think I mentioned it last week, but last week's swing trades, by the way, were just incredible. If you guys paid any attention, they pretty much all went nuts. But, just when I said, swing trades are kind of like, they're just kind of going sideways, and all of a sudden the next week and a half just straight up. So I'm hoping there's more of that. Playboy had that S1 and a few other things, and came right back up. So that was nice to see. They've got earnings, I think, in about 2 weeks, but we've got a lot of good stuff. First one that came in was, love to know your strategy with low float stocks. When do you feel it's the right time to short? And the example being BTX. So obviously it's going to be a popular name. For me, it's a reactive trade into some type of parabolic, which I would use very, very small size just to kind of have that ability to maybe have a good starter average, so that if it were to circuit down, I could maybe scale into that winner. But for the most part, I like to see, just like any other name, breakout, failed follow through, and then start to fade off. And I want to be there on the pops that fail. And if you continue to draw lines looking left, looking at the prior levels of support, you will continue to see that all of these trades this past week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks have been so spot on with prior support levels. Even when they come back and test, they literally test it to the penny. And that's not always the case. Usually it's, 10, 20 cents off, pretty much the average would be around a particular line. No, this last couple of weeks, it's like dead on. And so I think that's really going to help by, looking left. But the other thing too is you got to think about BTX, and the same thing as OCGN and all these other ones, right? Shorts are waiting to be right. So by you not being bent, by you not being on the wrong side, if you nail that trade, in my opinion, that's a cover for me. And then if it proves that it's going to stay heavy, then I'll resize it. I have a padding, I'll resize it. But, no matter what, if I nail that first move, I'm covering along the way, especially on the front side, because you've got to think about all the other competition that's out there that's fighting you for that same cover. And as soon as it stops going down, everybody that just sized up to kind of try to get out of a bad position is going to be taking off that size up, and it's going to ramp right back up. So be aware of that. IMR 2409. Just curious, do you have any long-term investments in blue chips like Apple, Disney, etc., or not even bother? So I actually replied on Twitter jokingly, but Playboy was my only long-term investment, really. Now I've got the IRA chock full of different names, but none of them are blue chips. At some point, yeah, probably when I want to stop actively managing it. But most of any investments more long term is places, desirable locations near water, things like that, such as the lake, the beach, things like that. Commercial buildings are always good, but non-stock related, I don't really want too many eggs in one basket, because you start looking at these things, you've got a big portfolio. Long term, and you're in the market every single day, and you're staring at the Apple or Disney, and you've got this big position in it, and it starts playing into your trades on the day. It's not worth it. So Next one came from Tony. Can you please explain a bit in more detail how you trade around the core? Thank you so much. So the key about trading around a core is that if you're anticipating to flush, then, or at least my thoughts about trading around a core are, if you're expecting it to flush, if it's very near a potential breakdown, then I like to scale into that trade, add more, and then if it flushes, I can size back down if I'm thinking that the overall move is going to be a lot bigger, right? So if I'm thinking that a stock might go from 16 to 14 and it starts to fail at 15 and it looks really, really heavy, then I might add, and then it flushes, I might go back to what I originally had. So now I just captured that fast drop with a lot more size. I locked in some real eyes, and now I'm a little bit more disconnected in letting that trade work. That's essentially trading around a core. And then if it were to bounce back up, maybe add a little bit more. And it continually kind of builds a padding. The only problem with that is if you're trading, say, something on the short side and it continually goes up, you're doing all this work while that core is just costing you the money. So for me, it's something like an OCGN. If you go back and look at OCGN on Friday, where it flushed out, or a VXRT, and being able to see it starting to have or hit some type of resistance, scale into that trade, take advantage of that opportunity, and then go back to your bigger picture sort of game plan on the particular trade. Taking advantage of the short-term moves within the longer-term time frame that you've kind of set forth with the trade. Next one. What gives you the drive to make all these review scan videos on a daily basis? You make it look so easy, and I know it's not. You've got to juggle between trading on the mic, pre-market, review videos, workout, family, etc. Enlighten me, sir. Yeah, it's a lot. And I get enjoyment out of it. I enjoy helping other people. I get more excitement out of seeing people do well than my own profits at times. But for me, this is my passion and this is what I like doing. Quite honestly, I should have done this scan prep last night, and it would have been a little bit easier today. So sometimes it does get a little bit bottlenecked on Sundays, but honestly, it's something that I really enjoy doing and seeing people progress as traders. There's nothing better, and I think that as you progress as a trader, and if you do make it, if you do extremely well, you'll start to see that certain things that you thought matter don't matter, and then like how do you get that fulfillment? So. I think that this fulfills a lot, and I appreciate the feedback that I get in the comments and all that good stuff. So, even an email that I just got this past weekend, and I sent it over to my wife, and it was pretty neat. But that's why I do it. So. How do you determine key levels? That one's easy. Look left. We always talk about this every Sunday video scan. Look left. Look where the consolidation was. Look where the key levels were. Look where it was hanging around. Look where it retested. And I want to wait for that level to break. And not just break. Everybody always thinks, okay, broke, short. No. Because sometimes it goes under, comes right back up and over. And you want to be aware of that because that's the trap. So you want to see it retest, fail, retest, fail, retest, fail. Identify a breakout versus a failed breakout. So this is a great example. For example, RAIL, R-A-I-L. Huge breakout. If you add too many, add, you're going to end up having a too high of an average. It's going to pull back. You're going to potentially sell out. Same thing with Playboy, PLBY. Huge $30 per share run. If you add too many too high, you're going to be the one that's selling out into the pullback. So it's very, you have to be cautious with breakouts because just that, a lot of them could be failed breakouts. So I did a video a little while ago. You can search Investors Underground failed breakout. I'm pretty sure it'll come up. But, for me, I like to actually see the breakout happen a lot of times. And then I like to be part of the dips after that breakout confirms. That way it ensures that you're not just buying that breakout before it slams down. I'd rather buy dips after all that emotional action happens. And, for me, that's the best way to trade it. All of your recent swing trades are pretty good. Can you talk about the criteria you look for in a swing trade selection? So, quite honestly, it is the one setup that we always talk about on here. That big volume day on the daily, come back, consolidate, wicks, 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 and then ABCD type setup for the breakout. Plus, any story that might help, any catalyst, any of that good stuff is always extremely helpful. And that's pretty much it. I'm not always going through filings and researching, going crazy with these things. It's really about what's working at this current time. I might have a totally different book, next month than I did this month. I might be carrying a bunch of junk. A couple months ago, if you guys remember, I just anything that popped up was worth buying, and it worked. It really worked. And if you were just buying, real names, it didn't. So, and then obviously that stopped, and you had to start to maybe try a little bit harder. But you just got to go with what's working, and then just keep going until it stops working, and then realize that it's not working, and find out what's working next. So, right now I'm just letting things work with some of the names that I have catalyst. But otherwise it's just these moves that have this transitional day, this huge volume, pulls back, consolidates, grinds, and we talk about the wicks on the daily chart. That's the key for me. And then I also like to see it break out beyond that prior top, and then I would potentially scale into the trade from there. And last one, overcoming large losses back to back. There's nothing you can do about it except, you should be upset if you broke all your rules, if you didn't pay attention to, your stop loss, if you didn't do, for me, whenever I have a big loss, it's not about the loss per se. It's more about, where did I go wrong? And then I get upset about that. Get upset about the fact that, I broke the rules. I didn't, there was probably 5, 6, 7, 10 times that I knew during that trade that I should be out, that I didn't have an edge, that I was in too much, that I shouldn't be here, that I was uncomfortable. And you go back to those points, and whenever you kind of start to feel that again, get out. You can always get right back in. You can literally get back in a second later if your thought changes, if the trade changes, right? But for you to sit there and let the trade figure it out for you, you're just saying, hey, hands are up, do what you got to do, and you're not taking control of the trade. So last time we talked about taking control of the trade, that's a great example of it. So anyway, let's get right into Sunday scan. All right, guys, so first and foremost, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational and informational purposes only. These are my ideas. This is what I'm looking to do. This is how I prepare. My goal is to help you guys prepare so you can develop your own game plans on your own. And, that's the bottom line. So VXRT tomorrow morning. We've got a lot of catalysts this week. And I think it's got two things tomorrow. I think it's got another event later on in the week. But it's had quite the run. And this is known for having these crazy runs and then just coming apart. So I want to be prepared that could potentially be an opportunity. I want to be prepared that we could potentially have some type of big gap up and unwind all day. I want to be prepared for the fact that we could have circuit halts. So one thing I do know for sure with all these headlines is I'm not going to be trading the same size as I was last week. There's a lot of volume, a lot of opportunity, but I want to be super cautious because there could be that $1 or $2 move against or for that, it turns into more of the gamblish. It's the lesser edge, especially if you're trading around headlines. So be super cautious. In my opinion, trading the same size as last week with whatever you got comfortable with. I got comfortable with a lot of size, and it was a great opportunity, and there was a lot of action and the volume and the action called for it. But now that we're going to be dodging in between headlines and presentations and this and that, it's not worth it until after that stuff's out. Great, then I potentially will size back up if there's a trade that presents itself. But really great opportunity, and again, if you just look left, you can see that each time that it came back during the day, it held a higher low, came back, retested, held a higher low, and continued to do the same thing over and over and over. Then we've got Clove. Clove, fantastic opportunities all last week. This is some of the best types of setups for me. Gap ups, and then failed follow through momentum. So typically on a trade like this, I immediately go back to where it was hanging out before, where it had trouble before. So clearly you can see 10 10s, 10s. 10 was kind of a base for a little while before it came back under. And then we have basically 10 10, and we've got 10 40s, 10 50s or so. So keep that in mind. And morning move, this is a very cult style name. So sometimes Mondays are good for it because they have all weekend to say how it's going to the moon. But keep in mind, failed follow through momentum, look left. I'm going to use Friday's resistance points as the potential for that trade. I do not like this for a long. It does not mean I won't take it for long. There was that perfect ABCD setup, but at this point, it's my opinion that shorts kind of got exhausted, and I think that longs are actually on the wrong side of the trade again. OCGN, fantastic opportunity. This was a really nice flush timing basketball analogy that we talk about, lower highs versus that kind of base. The key levels that I had given in the room was 1290s and 1270s, and hopefully we continue to have some type of opportunity set up on this one. It came back once again. I could see this going to 15. I really could. I think that shorts have been trying and trying and trying, and they just are not let out. No matter how hard they try, they are not let out. And this is good for longevity because the more times that it pulls back, the more shorts are going to get in there, and then the more longs are actually desensitized to these pullbacks. Right? 50-cent pullback, no big deal. It came back $1 last time. Another 50-cent pullback. Came back $2 next time. So the more that this happens, the less longs are even caring, about the price action. We've got BTX. BTX, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's an outlier trade. There might be one or two opportunities, just like I said last week. But if you're new, this should go in the do not trade basket. There's not really a reason or an edge. If you nail it, congrats, you nailed it. There's not a high reward to risk type trade, and if you're wrong, you could lose $30 a share if it wants to go into a circuit halt, right? So, I'll be watching it. I probably will trade it once or twice, but after that, it's going off radar. You're going to find that the time requirement, the screen time requirement for this particular name takes the focus of like 4 or 5 other names. It's just not worth it. Continuation portion, PLBY. Playboy continues to go. Nice rally back. It's got earnings in about 2 weeks, but I'd love to see this start to reclaim 55, go up to 60s, breakout, something like that. But, at this point, you can kind of see the trend that it's following. Going up, comes back, flushes out, new highs, comes back, flushes out, new highs, repeat. That's good and bad. That could be training me to just hold and not sell, and it could also be training shorts for the next round. So, we'll find out. But again, it's already produced $30 per share from the swing idea, and it's already doubled and then some. So be cautious, but I'm letting this trade work for me, and so far so good. Same thing with rail. I don't have much commentary on these swing trades, just because I'm just letting them work. And anytime that I let these things work, sometimes I get a bunch of PMs. Hey, what's your plan? What's your plan? What's your plan? If they pull back like 20 cents, plan is the same. You look at the daily chart, look at support for those types of trades. Whenever it's a bigger picture idea, a bigger picture trade, I'm looking at daily chart resistance or support for making decisions. So AHT, this was a trade from Friday. Fantastic, really nice move after hours as well. I sold a bunch over 3s, and I hold about a third left, and I'm just going to kind of see what it does on that. So great early gapper idea in the room, and hopefully we continue to have some momentum on that one. MOTS, I'm going to be setting price alerts. MOTS, yes, it pulled back. Yes, it did have pretty steady fade. However, it had 150 million shares almost. So I'll be watching if 150 starts to base Tuesday and Wednesday for that potential breakout. RHE, can't type today. RHE, another big move after hours, ended up coming back into the close. I had sold a bunch when I had noted in the room, but I was just keeping my low average. You can see right over here that 10 is clearly a big level, right? So you've got these 10-10 tops, and then right after hours it goes right back up to that 10-10 top. So that obviously would be a key level for if it's going to go into black swan mode or not. But other than that, again, don't think that everything's going to be a black swan. Don't think that all these trades are all going to do the same thing. That's why I sold when I sold into that big breakout late day. And then, like I said, I was just going to keep some in the swing account with the lower average. So UXIN, you guys know, been there for a while. So far, so good. I've also sized down on that, but typically if I nail a trade like I did on UXIN, I'll trim down and then I'll just let the rest ride, for better or worse, and sometimes they just come right back down. Same thing happened with CELC, which relatively low volume, but this day right over here had nailed that trade. And then all of a sudden, it's fading all the way back, and I'm, beating myself up a little bit. Why didn't I just sell it all? Because I had a decent amount. I sold half into the rip, and then it faded all the way back down from, the 28s to the 22s, and I was like, that was a decent chunk of money. But anyway, it's back up to the top, and so the point there is sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't when you're holding. But anytime I get on the right side of something with a decent amount, and I lock some in, I do try to let that work because, as you guys know, these things lately just keep on going. BTN, same deal, you guys know. I've been mentioning that for a couple weeks now. Craig, you guys know, same deal. Nice setup so far. Wicks are getting bought. So far, it's had an issue at 10. So, probably needs a PR to get through that. I've trimmed around the core. I did not the last time. If you guys remember, like I've talked about, I've been there since 6. It went all the way up. It doubled. I never took any off. Went all the way back to my average. And, it is what it is. So, APTO, so far you can see the wick starting again. But I think this will probably be a trender into June. So far, I'm letting that same trade work. HTZ GQ. Nice breakout here and continuation trade. So, we'll see what happens with that, but I've been trying to let that one work as well. And last but not least, AFMD didn't close green on Friday, but another nice week for that one from the swing trade idea. So, again, quick scan tonight. I am not, super excited about anything right off the open tomorrow, but that's going to change at 9 a.m. tomorrow. That's going to change at 8 a.m. tomorrow. And that's what the pre-market prep is all about. 8:50 a.m. every single day, I grab the mic and I talk about what I'm looking at for the day ahead, and where I think there's going to be an edge and what type of market we're in, right? So as with anything, when the market once again is straight up, you guys should also have your trades that you might focus on if we do have that pullback. I'm not saying a crash, I'm just saying that 500, 700 pullback day. If you were prepared the last couple pullbacks, you did very well. And just like when we have a lot of capitulation, the SPAC trades and all those things, you got to have your shopping list. And if you have your shopping list, then you get prepared. You have your XL, RMOs, SPCEs, your FCELs, your plugs. And if you come prepared, then you actually have those outlier returns, those outlier trades that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So make sure you are getting prepared. I do have a lot of other stocks that are just what I call the staying familiar section. That's where I put the price alerts. That's where I, say, all right, you know what? I would probably trade this at this price, and I would probably be interested in a potential short at this price. And I put those in to the IU price alerts. And then, you know what? In 3 weeks from now, maybe I get that alert, and I say, oh yeah, I wanted to trade that. Here it is. Here's the setup. And that's when I trade it. So do the work, put the work in, and it's gonna come back for you. So that is about it. And again, I'm trying to keep the trades tight. I'm trying to continue to fire on all cylinders. I could be a lot more aggressive than I am, and I definitely could. But I'm not having the same headaches that I used to have. I'm trying to remain in that same zone, and as long as I can, because as we talk about all the time, things continue to um, build and build and build and build faster than you can imagine. So that's it, and have a great weekend, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.